Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Stable of Studs Wrestling Podcast. I'm indeed your host, Hank Rodriguez. Joined with me via Skype is Jimothy James Dean. How you doing today, sir?
Sub.
Awesome. And then, of course, we have Adam freaking Danger. How you doing, sir?
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. This is Adam Danger here.
Oh,
Glad to be a part of the gang.
God. Was that it?
No, there's nothing planned. I'm shooting you straight. This is a Vince Russo shoot. I have nothing planned. I'm just sitting in the dark. I'm sitting in the dark in my closet with my wife like, hey, keep it down in there. Looking at these Kate Upton photos.
Oh, they're gifts.
Yeah, they're the gifts that keep on gifting.
Yeah,
I can't blame you.
I see in James's reflection in his eyeglasses what he's looking at.
You can see your mom? What? Oh, dum-dum-dum.
Thank you again for listening today, guys. Don't forget. And of course, last but least, because he's a negative Nancy, Tanner Treadway. How you doing?
Hi.
No one cares. Well, we're coming off the WrestleMania, quote unquote high, which I still think was great. Do you all have any kind of other thoughts regarding it? Did y'all rewatch anything and change your minds, or think something was great, then it wasn't really that great, or something that was bad ended up being good?
At least springs to mind is the fact that I am over every single goddamn media outlet saying what their dream boneyard / funhouse matches are that we should now be subject to, and all the bullshit booking that the internet has now decided to do. I haven't read one of them, but I've seen like 4 different YouTube things about it and like 4 different online articles about just fucking stop armchair booking, man. Can we just stop it?
Leave it to the professionals, like the Stable of
Like
Studs.
us. One thing I did hear that I thought was interesting was that apparently John Cena had a lot of input and creative in that Firefly Funhouse match. So he not only was a good sport about it, but he kind of had a direction like, well, let's make it like this. So I think one of those underrated aspects of John is just being super self-aware and very savvy and saying like, I know what people think about me. I know what Vince thinks, my relationship with Vince. And he really turned it on its head. So if that's true, then I give a lot more kudos. And I think that's what a great treat from John Cena.
Yeah, no, I mean, the fact that, it just goes to show you, like, people, the difference between, like, a fucking, kayfabe and the actual person. Like, there's some, you know what I mean? Like, it just, the fact that he, again, like you were saying, he was so self-aware, that he was able to, like, hey, you know what's best for this match? If I fucking, we mark out about, we mark about over, like, the things that I used to do. And then we bring that back, and then, we obviously bring up the fact that, I quote unquote, true or not, that he buries people, or he was keeping people from rising up. Either way, it all got addressed, and it got all put to rest, so, I rewatched both of them, the Boneyard and the Firefly Funhouse match, and I think, again, they're both were amazing. It's very few people thought otherwise. I know Tanner didn't care about the Boneyard match, but I thought it was spectacular. Tanner, have you changed your mind about anything or no?
I honestly haven't checked out anything again after the first watch.
Okay. Yeah, man, you should definitely check it out and get see if your opinion changes on that. But moving right along, keeping with WWE, of course, the announcement was made that immediately as of April 10th, the Revival and WWE have come to an agreement, and they have split ways, which I think is very exciting for the Revival, being one of the if not the best tag team out there right now that actually know how to actually do a tag team match. Initial thoughts, Adam?
I was wondering, is there any reason they couldn't go back to NXT? Like, I know that we have Finn Balor and Charlotte has the belt, and honestly, I feel that Dash Dog, they need to wrestle. Like, you can't put them in silly gimmicks, and you can't put them hanging out with like a third person and just doing all kinds of crazy crap, because that's almost antithetical to what the Revival's supposed to be about, just straight wrestling. So you got to give these guys 8 to 9 minutes every time on TV of just wrestling, and I think that would get over. Obviously, they weren't getting that opportunity on Raw, but I was just wondering, like, how come they couldn't go back to NXT and just keep working?
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, ultimately, going anywhere, there's still going to be the stigma of going from NXT to the main roster, the quote-unquote main roster, back to NXT is always going to seem like a demotion. It is definitely not the best sign for your career, where they know, in WWE, if Vince doesn't already believe in you, that's an uphill road that almost nobody can really fucking, climb. Where AEW is a new start, and they're going to be immediately pushed into the top scene. Just the internet rivalry already between of lots of people in the revival means they're going to get that top 3 spot, which sucks actually, because I feel like people like already in like the Best Friends, for instance, they're already teams I feel like should be higher in their ranking, but at the same time, Revival deserve it. They're an amazing tag team, and I'd like to say, I'm down with it. Like, obviously WWE's not using them, so let's see what AEW can do with them.
Absolutely. Tanner, your thoughts?
I really hope, like has anything been confirmed about them going to AEW?
No.
Okay, good.
Because the only thing, and I'm sorry to interrupt, I'm not doing it on purpose, I promise, but the only thing that I saw was that what Mailman Mike posted was that
the NWA thing.
Yeah, supposedly they were about, even before they were let go, they were supposed to do a power show, but of course COVID happened. But but go ahead and continue.
I really hope that they don't go to AEW, because all I foresee there is we're the guys that left WWE and we're gonna complain about it, and I just want to see them just do their thing and not be those guys.
You know where I would love to see them before they go to AEW? New Japan.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think they'd be a fucking natural fit over there. I think they'd actually be work rate and work style. I think they'd probably be the best American wrestlers to go over there in a long time. I think it would be good for them to break away from WWE and, kind of really let them do what they can do. Because, the thing is, they're not only talented in-ring workers, but the small amount of camera time they got in NXT and even less in fucking WWE main is that they're fucking entertaining dudes. They can fucking talk. They have a great chemistry together. So anywhere where they can just build on that and really fucking, do their own thing, like to Tanner's point, so they don't immediately just another WWE talent that just, let them build up their fucking international, rep. Let them fucking really show what they can do over there, where you have to perform, otherwise you're immediately. I mean, some promotions in the States, or not just in the States, all over, you can sort of get away with just being a good talker, but fucking New Japan and Japan in general, you have to fucking work. If you can't work, you're gonna made to look like a fucking fool. And we know the Revival can work, so I want to see them put on 7-star Meltzer matches.
Plus, the big thing with both of these guys, especially Dash, is that neither of them really have a look. They're just kind of standard looking dudes. But in Japan, they're gonna stand out. They're I mean, like the same way that like what's his name, Michael Elgin, he stood out. He was just kind of a normal looking dude.
Yep.
But I mean, they're going to stand out. They're going to have a better look. I think that it would just be a chance for them to ignore microphones, just wrestle, do exactly what they've been wanting to do, and stand out that way. But have you guys seen their new names that they're going to go by?
Oh, God, no. Please tell us.
Okay, so Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder will now be operating under the names Cash Wheeler and Dax Hartwood.
But okay, I'm only going
That's some,
on the
like,
second name.
wrestling name
but-
generator bullshit.
But you said Cash Wheeler?
Cash Wheeler. Yeah.
Cash Wheeler sounds like a 70s stuntman, and I could not love that name more. But
Oh my
Max
god.
Hardware sounds like a poor name that Adam came up with.
Yeah, like he specifically put a T instead of a D. But we all know.
Yeah, exactly.
Val Venus and Jace.
Val Venus adjacent. No, I honestly, I mean, those are all great ideas. To add to it though, Tanner, I mean, I just still think that you still need to be. I mean, maybe not New Japan, understand. But you still need to be hot in the mic though. I mean, I think that you have to have, at least 2 out of the 3 things. You got to look good, you got to talk good, and you got to wrestle good. And granted, I mean, they are in good shape, but they're not fucking jacked. They are good. They are decent on the mic, and obviously, they're fantastic wrestlers. So, I mean, yeah, go get some fucking street cred over in Japan, and then I think AEW would be a good fit. I know, you might be worried that they might be complainers, but you really don't see that with Moxley. You don't see that with
You kind of do with Mox, especially early on. I mean,
yeah, but it's gone
he
now.
Still has the stigma of, oh, he made that big jump from WWE. Like, that's still the thing, and that's still kind of the thing with Matt, and a little bit not less with Brody because of how much character they've given him.
Yeah, but that's from like that's from the fans. That's not so much from themselves. They're not really talking about it, in their promos or anything like that.
Well, still, I mean, even then, the AEW fans are exactly the type to be like,
okay,
yeah, he said no to WWE, yeah.
Cool. That's fine. I don't care what they say. You know what I mean? Like, as long as it's not being brought into the actual product, I think you're fine. I think, I mean, and even if they are talking about it, at least they're talking about them. They are talking about something. I don't think that a lot of, I mean, unless like the supermarks like us, really do appreciate and see what the Revival was really supposed to do, and we do see their full potential. I think we're probably the only ones that'll be touting about it. Really, I think it'll be a good opportunity to get a fresh look on this tag team and actually see what their full potential is. There's good talent in AEW as far as the tag team goes. I mean, off the bat, I mean, you got Omega and you got Paige. I think that would be a hell of a match.
I agree.
I like to see Pentagon and Ray Phoenix. Like,
I
still feel like they're the tops in AEW, but I think if you put in the Revival, they're already number 2. Like, they're just a well-oiled machine. They just need an opportunity to just keep wrestling and not be sidemen to Baron Corbin, right? It never made any sense that they were kind of like these little goons.
And that's one thing I really respect about the Lucha Bros. That they're not all just fucking lucha. It's not all just arm drags. Granted, if you watch them wrestle in AAA, you'll see more of that arm drag mentality or the arm drag worker, but they still have a good understanding. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about them. They have a very good understanding of American wrestling, and I think you're right, absolutely 100% correct, Adam. Like, I can see Revival fucking and Lucha Bros. I mean, again, to what James was saying, a fucking 7 stars fucking jizz Meltzer fest right there.
The thing is, like, there's a lot of great high flyers, Ray Horace, fucking, Dragon. Like, there's a ton of great high flyers in the world right now. Ricochet, but fucking Ray Phoenix is the best worker of all of them. Not only is that dude unbelievably athletic and agile and all of those, talents that you're required to be a great high flyer and luchador, but that fucking dude can work. He can sell. When he fucking wrestles, it looks like a fight. My biggest complaint is just that both of them, as much as I love seeing them as tag partners, they fucking Phoenix and Pentagon need to both be single stars. In fact, I would love to see them in a feud. So anyways, that's my jumping on that.
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell. I again, it's definitely with AEW finishing up their tapes. It's only, I mean, it's the waiting game at this point. But yeah, and I was talking to you to James about it before the show started. Um, we're seeing a lot more of the jumping ship. I mean, granted, Revival hasn't gone to AEW yet, but more than likely, it's either going to be NWA or, I mean, why not both? I don't think Colt's done with NWA either. So
No, I think Colt is done with NWA.
really, is that why he dropped the title?
Yeah,
I think so too.
He was in some interview. He said he's mainly focused on AEW, and I don't even think he's going to do. I mean, right now, I was gonna say there's nobody doing independent dates right now anyway. So yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I think he's AEW focused if I remember correctly.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, either way, I think the bigger point I was wanting to talk about was that the fact that we're seeing a lot of we're seeing wrestlers jump ship. People that actually enjoy the wrestling aspect of professional wrestling and not so much of sports entertainment. Do you think, in your opinion, or right off the cuff while I ask this question, do you foresee this being a trend of actual wrestlers jumping ship and just leaving it for the WWE just sticking with sports entertainers? We'll start off with Tanner.
I hope so. I think that for a long time, all these kids who have been growing up on at the time, underground Ring of Honor matches, the internet gems where you're seeing all these incredible work rate guys. New Japan's getting bigger, so all these different styles are becoming more and more popular, and that's what all these kids are growing up. That's where they're taking all their influence, and then they're getting put into WWE because there's really nothing else. So they are forced to do something that they haven't really spent much of their career doing, and it doesn't fit, and they clearly don't enjoy it. So yes, I hope that that we have like sports entertainers, hopefully guys like EC3, who is a perfect fit for that, doesn't get screwed over for absolutely no reason, because he's exactly what WWE always has looked for in a wrestler. And then you have guys like the Revival who can operate in NWA or New Japan and just be a perfect fit of like the guys that want to wrestle know where they should go. The guys that want to talk and do the milk truck thing and the sports entertainment stuff know where they can go. I think that it's only going to get better as both of these companies further establish their brands.
Good deal. James?
Did you forget where you were?
Yeah, I did.
Adam?
Yeah, I think kind of saying what Tanner said, AEW is the first real, I would say, kind of competent competition for the WWE. I mean, just think like 5 years ago. If you were Drew McIntyre, what happened when he hit the skids? He had to go to Impact. And as much as I like to ballyhoo Impact, I mean, it's nowhere near what AEW is now, and it's nowhere near approaching the WWE. So somebody like Drew McIntyre was on the outer rim, right? He was marginalized, and he had to come back. And I really liked his run in Impact, but you could see I mean, he got lucky that he got a second chance to come back through. Then he come back through NXT, then back to WWE. Now he's the champ. Well, that's not for everybody. And without AEW, you kind of had to just do either Impact or maybe Ring of Honor or a slew of indie dates, or you went to New Japan and you had to make something of yourself there. But that's a huge ask to move yourself all the way to the other side of the world on the vain attempt that maybe you can recoup some of the money that you were making WWE. Now we have a viable alternative where, again, if you're a wrestler and you hit a certain ceiling, you can go to AEW and kind of rebrand yourself and try different things. It's a blank canvas. You can try it may not work, but you can try it and you can get it out. And then if it does work, you can always come back to WWE. I still think WWE is king, and that's where if you're at the top, you will make the most money in the world of professional wrestling. You still want to be at WrestleMania. I don't think there's a superstar alive that if they have the opportunity, superstar wrestler anywhere, the opportunity to be on WrestleMania and make that fat chunk of cash. You can't tell me there's someone that says, no, I don't want that. But Again, so now I think AEW though is a viable alternative. Yeah, let me leave. I'm not being used here. I'm kind of stalling. I only have so many years. I have only so many bumps that I can give. Why don't I try to do something that I kind of want to do?
Well, that's the one thing is, I mean, that's why with like Matt Hardy, it's so important is that you bring up a fantastic point, which is there are wrestlers at this point who their shelf life is coming towards its end. Like they've cashed out their bump cards, their bodies are breaking down, so they still want a career. So AEW is giving them creative freedom. One thing that the internet has talked about for the longest time is fantasy booking on underused talent. A great example of that would have been Luke Harper, aka Brody Lee. For a long time, people like, oh, he deserves better. He deserves better. I can't wait till he finally gets away and goes to AEW. Well, now it's time to put up or shut up. You know,
Yep.
Is Brody Lee killing it in AEW? I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily say that so far, but you know, we still need to give him time. But it's a litmus test for allowing talent to stand on their own 2 feet and say, look, for years you kept saying you were underutilized, you were being pushed down, you weren't living up to your full potential. Well, here's a company that allows you input in your creative path and allows you to fucking, be your own wrestler. Let's see what you can do. And if you fucking fail, guess whose fault that is? Your fault. Yeah. So for that reason, I'm very excited because it allows fans to sort of, see that catch-22 of wishing their fucking favorite wrestler would go to a better, quote-unquote, better company than WWE. But at the same time, if they fucking fail over there, they can't blame Vince McMahon.
Yeah, I mean, all good points there, too. I think there's going to be a very well, to what Adam was saying, I think there's going to be a very well-balanced type of wrestling for each. Even though, you look back on it and think about WCW and WWE, they were pretty similar towards their heydays as far as what they were doing, as far as the entertainment aspect goes. But yeah, no, I think there's going to be, AEW is going to be for wrestling, and WWE is going to be for the sports entertainment aspect, which both are enjoyable in their own right. And I think what you were saying too, James, I think there's going to be like a shift, once all this pandemic shit blows over too. I think, 6 months, maybe a year down the line, we're going to see the people that aren't cutting, cutting the mustard, even friend or not friend. I think we're going to start seeing them being let go because they're going to have to start paying for the actual good talent that are jumping ship from WWE.
I think too. One thing I was thinking about, Tank, that you mentioned.
He says, I'm sorry, and then he keeps going.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I have an important point to say. One thing I was thinking is that, like, we were going back to the Braun and Goldberg match and how crummy it was, but I think one of the things that we realize is that what's really surviving now, like, what are we actually watching now week to week during COVID, is we're actually wanting to watch matches. We want to watch people work, whether it's a tag team match on SmackDown or Braun and Nakamura. We're actually watching people work, and those that really rely on what I want to call like a Hulk Hogan kind of like, I'm super big and I need the crowd, I need fireworks, and I can do 2 or 3 moves. That's not really cutting the mustard. So like, we're really now, this is the real litmus test of saying like, who really can wrestle and what's going to be on TV? Can I put you on TV if you're just going to like pose and flex to nobody, right?
Yeah.
So like, you're kind of seeing even the top of the talent, the top of the card, if you can't really wrestle at least a 10-minute match on SmackDown when there's nothing else to watch, then when everything gets back, is there going to be even room for you? Is there going to be an audience for you if you're just going to kind of like pose and play with fireworks?
That I think you hit the nail on the head on that one. But yeah, Tanner, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that this is the absolute worst time to move anywhere or to start anywhere, because who is ever going to go back and watch Matt Hardy's AEW debut on YouTube? Nobody. Because you're fucking, the announcers go, what? Is it him? And then the cameras are going to turn, and then he's just standing there like not saying anything. And and everybody's just looking confused. Like, it's just weird. So I really hope that that doesn't have a lasting impact on those two guys. God, I feel so bad for Brody having to debut in his hometown to an empty stadium.
Well, he wasn't in his hometown. They were in the that little pavilion they have for the Jaguars stadium, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, the date was scheduled for Rochester at the time.
And he chose to do that. They allowed him to, like, hey, do you want to hold off for a bit? He's like, no, let's do it, you know?
Well, I mean, think about it. We'd still be waiting, and we don't know when we'd see him.
Good. And either way, it's working out. I'm not sold on this gimmick they're doing.
Yeah.
Just yet. I'm not sold on it. I want to see where it goes. And I think it just needs to pick up a little bit more momentum. And I think we'll be happy with it. Which regardless, it's nice to see him on the fucking screen. And so I'm definitely not complaining about that.
I'll say what is nice. It's nice to see him actually be a character, like doing.
Anything?
I mean, yeah, he's actually being a character. He's not just being a silent henchman. He's showing some personality. He's showing his own sort of approach to being a monster heel, head of a bad guy faction. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen that before. Whether it's his version of Vince McMahon or not. But yeah, no. But again, I am glad to see him not only on TV, but I'm glad to see him trying to be something.
Yeah, well, I was listening to a podcast with him, and he was talking about how, like, everyone just always has this stigma based on his appearance to have the Southern accent, and this hillbilly, hillbilly monster kind of deal. He's like, I'm from fucking New York, like, like, what do you want me? Like, this isn't who I am.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's able to be himself, I still think he needs to get a better fucking coat. I'm a little sold on
his whole outfit's awful. Whether in ring or even his cheap suit he wears it's all bad. It's all bad.
I'm talking about that white jacket, man. Jesus Christ.
No, it's all bad. It's all bad. His outfit is bad. The whole thing is bad.
And that's what I'm saying too. Like, if you're from New York, right, and you're mad about having having to do the Southern accent, why do you still you live in the fucking hills getting ready to fucking chop somebody's legs off? Just my opinion. I still love him. I'm still glad he's on TV. What are you doing, James?
Doing my thing, brother. I'm giving you insights. I'm talking about Brody Lee.
Okay. Hey, while we're on the topic of Brody Lee, I wanted to kind of pivot to WWE SmackDown, which I know half of y'all didn't watch, and that's okay. I'll fill you in and get your initial thoughts here, get your hot takes on it. And we'll definitely start off with Adam though too. But it ended with Braun defending his title against Shinsuke, and of course Shinsuke, doing the favors. Braun got over. It was a decent match. Can
I pause you?
The what?
Can I pause you for a second?
Go ahead.
I hate that we're in a time period where we're saying, of course, Shinsuke did the favors.
I know.
I can. Oh my god, I hate that so much.
I know.
Continue.
I know.
It was my very first thought as soon as this first off, my very first thought is
I sank in my chair when you said that.
Yeah, I was like, oh great, we're starting SmackDown with a promo between Shinsuke and Braun.
Ugh.
This is gonna be great with no audience it was awful. But my first thing is like, dude, even when he's coming down, we are obviously getting C+ Shinsuke. Even when he first came and he got his push, that was like B- Shinsuke. But even when he's not trying, he still oozes charisma,
great.
And he's still awesome, and he's just a jobber at this point, and it's heartbreaking, and whatever.
Well, I didn't see him as doing as far as like being the enhancement talent. I think he gave him a run for his money. But that's not even what I wanted to talk about. It was the end of the match when a certain theme song to a certain Funhouse hit after Braun won. And it looks like they're going to try to fucking put the title back on fucking Bray.
Why?
I
I
don't
told
know.
you. I did not want this. I did not want Braun to be a transitional champ,
But
or
why? Why? But there's no need for Bray to win the title. Bray does not need the title to look even better.
You know what? No. Here's Vince's deluded brain. I think that regardless of what everybody says, he does see a lot in Bray because he didn't want Roman to take the title off of Bray. He wanted to take it off of somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's why Goldberg won. And then we were going to have Roman win at WrestleMania against Goldberg. And then I'm maybe, I don't think so, but maybe this still would have been Roman and then The Fiend going at it. But even then, like, I still feel like we would have had Roman champ for a good long while. But that's what's happening right now is Vince is like, okay, obviously I need my man Crush Roman with the title, but I don't want the fans to hate me because of Bray. Like, so he's just bouncing back and forth between those two things, and so of course nothing makes any sense.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Go ahead, Adam or James, one of you.
I was gonna say, like, I do think it's kind of interesting because when you did see the promo, it did harken back to when he was the black sheep in the black sheep mask, and so that they're really kind of playing into when
the White family.
White family and Braun first came in. So I thought, oh, that's okay. But yeah, I kind of got that feeling like you did, Tank. Like, they're gonna give it back to Bray, which is, I didn't want Braun to win the title because I'd rather, if Bray was just gonna do that, just have him take Goldberg, 2 weeks later. So I know it's gonna cost money, but don't, unless they just keep the strap on Braun and then sink Bray one more time. He could take a hit he could take a hit.
I mean, at this point, it doesn't seem like it matters if Bray loses or wins. I think as long as it's a good story, it could pass. Because a lot of people already, I mean, he did mention that he lost it already, but I mean, I just don't get it. It's kind of like thinking about like Piper. Why do you think Piper never won a fucking belt? He didn't fucking need to.
Yeah.
That he was a belt. Like he was a champion in people's eyes, It never, when people win the belt, it's to make them look better. He doesn't need to look better. He's amazing, and what he's doing is great, and he needs to keep on that roll. And maybe towards the end of that character arc, maybe he wins it, and then he starts to lose it, and then he reinvents himself. But I mean, again, we have to keep in mind, we have to put an asterisk about all that shit that's going on. And even though I read earlier that SmackDown tapings and NXT tapings and I think Raw tapings are still going to continue, which I think, granted, we're going to get, not so good entertainment, but I still think that, it's important to keep on, cashing in those checks, baby. So they have a roster to pay and they need to sell shirts. So I'm very I'm hesitant, but I'm still interested to see where they go from it. But James, did you have any thoughts on it?
No, I mean, like, I agree with you 100%. He doesn't need the belt. In fact, it's been said a million times, what would a monster want with a belt? Doesn't make sense. But I do think if he's the most engaging guy you have right now, the guy that's selling the merch, the guy that's like the top guy, especially if he's the most interesting guy, at a time right now where like ratings aren't necessarily that strong, where you don't see a ton of homegrown fan support, you might as well put it on fucking Bray because putting it on Roman's gonna do something for you. It's like, what are the alternatives, basically? My biggest thing is that, I like the way that they've protected Bray to the most part. Like I said, he only lost to Goldberg, so because of, like I said, Tanner explained it perfectly, just because of the mechanics of their booking. But even that loss, I think, definitely didn't help his career. I would just rather have him just destroying people rather than chasing belts, just because that would be more interesting and original. Because here's the thing is, and I think it might even be a quote from Roddy Piper that was brought up, like, if you never win the belt, you never have to lose the belt. And it's better to be an undefeated person that never held a belt than somebody who just constantly either was like a transitional champion or who just was constantly giving up the belt. So Bray should be on his own. He should be above the belt. He should just be doing weird shit, fucking with people, destroying people. But at the end of the day, if your company is in the shitter the way that WWE is, and he's the most interesting dude, why not at this point? Like, if it means fans are going to tune in to see it, fuck it. Like, everything else is secondary.
Am I crazy, or did you say that he should be running around destroying titles a couple minutes ago?
Destroying people, not titles. Although, sure, destroy titles too.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think that he shouldn't not care about the titles. I think he should hate them, and he should go and he should win every title, and he should destroy it. And then, WWE only succeeds when somebody feuds with Vince. So what other way to feud with Vince than to win every single title and destroy it and then move on to the next one?
That would be the coolest angle they've done in a long time.
You should misspeak more often then, because you had a really good idea.
Honestly, I'm so brilliant I don't even know it.
The fact is, I think you do think you know it.
That's right. You're 100% correct there, sir.
You brought up a good point. Like, not something I want to rant on, but I always thought it was kind of counterproductive or counterintuitive to have, like, oh, I'm the 16-time champ, but that means you also lost it like 15 times. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for real.
Like, why not just have, like, I won it once and I held it like Bob Backlund. Holding it for 2,000 days, Bruno.
Fuck Bruno for 17 years, for God's sakes.
Like that, that's the man.
Yeah, for real. And that's the thing is, like, we've lived in an era where the belt, is used to progress storylines when that's never like it. If you look at before, okay, this is gonna turn into whole televised wrestling versus. I'm not going to go there. It's too much for this conversation. But I will say this. If you think when you say who's the most dominant world champion of the modern era, post Cena,
Brock
would be Brock, right? Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
Easy.
And the only reason that works I think I literally just my big fat ass just broke my fucking desk chair.
I saw you sinking.
It just started sinking.
Hey, wait, real quick. We're on a Skype session, ladies and gentlemen, and I just literally see James's head start sinking down. But anyway, go ahead, continue, sir.
I don't even know what I was saying.
You're talking about Brock being the most dominant.
And that's because he hasn't been on TV. Like, if he was on TV more, he probably would have given it up more. But you save him. That's why fans who fucking bellyache about him being a quote-unquote special attraction and we deserve to have a champion on TV. No, you don't. For what? So
Back in our day, James, it was a treat to see Hulk Hogan as a fucking champion. And when you saw him, you got fucking stoked.
When you heard Ric Flair's for what I forget what like movement it is, this notorious theme song, you got chills because it was a special thing.
Yes.
You're not fucking just Kofi on TV every fucking week giving some bullshit. I'm sorry, no offense to Kofi. I'm just saying.
Well, of course you went to Kofi.
Just saying the most obvious transitional champion of.
Why'd you go to Kofi?
Because he's the most obvious transitional champion.
Why is it obvious?
Oh, God.
Well, I don't know. I would say Kofi, I thought he had a decent run. It went a lot longer than I thought it would go. I was talking to James about this earlier this week, though, that, like, it would boggle my mind that Hulk Hogan was a champion for an entire year in WCW when he was Hollywood Hogan. Like, again, and then he was cheating and things like that. But I remember being a fan in the late 90s thinking, like, no, the belt should be changing hands every 3 or 4 months, not thinking, and knowing that, like, Hogan had it for a whole year, like, blew my mind. And now I think I'm at that point now. I'm like, yeah, let the champion have like a nice run with it. I don't have to see him every day on Raw, especially if he's not going to be defending the title. So then it's cool. So I would rather Braun just hold on to it, and every 2 pay-per-views he has to defend it. But we could go 6 months, and that would be a healthy run.
Well, I mean, on the flip side to that too, Punk's run was pretty entertaining too, because he was actually, defending it and winning.
Yeah.
And he had that, charismatic character, and it was a treat. It was a special blend that you probably won't see in a long time. But yeah, so I always thought about that, as far as you lost 16 times. You're not really. I mean, are you really a good champ if you lost it so much throughout your career? But anyway, yeah, very good point. Which actually it made me think of a different question too. How do you make the Intercontinental Championship better? How do you make it relevant again?
Get rid of it.
Put some blue back in there.
I'm going to say something that's going to make everybody here's head fucking implode.
That's not good for a show.
Especially Mailman Mike. You know who was doing the best job was The Miz. Because
The Miz is always the best IC champ. That's just a fact. Miz is the best IC champ.
The one thing is that you can't take away from The Miz is, one, he is legitimately a real fan of pro wrestling, and he understood the importance of that title. And every promo he cut for the last 5 years, every time he held the belt, was to build up the title. And I don't think they do that enough. I think one thing that's missing from majority of wrestlers in this day and age is being able to take the fucking script that they give you and still managing to not just, add your own flavor and your own vibe and your own personality to it, but also to be able to get across your own feelings, your own thoughts. And again, fucking look at Cena held the U.S. Championship for, I don't know how, a few months. I don't even honestly know. When he held the U.S. Championship, it was the fucking best. It was the most memorable run that belt has had in 20 years.
Since Goldberg had it in WCW.
I would say Raven, but that was before Goldberg.
We digress. James?
We digress. But it's because when you're given a championship belt, you need to make sure that people know how important it is that you have that belt. And Miz has always been great about that. He's understanding the legacy of it, making it feel important. But again, I think because Vince McMahon doesn't give a rat's ass. If you're not Universal Champion or World Champion, he doesn't give a shit. He tag champs, he couldn't. I mean, tag. We all know he doesn't like tag teams, but the tag championship has been shit on for years. The most fucking rebounded championship they have. But he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about the legacy of the titles. He could care less. But
then that's up to Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is your current Intercontinental Champion. When he gets on the mic, he needs to just say I am the best. I am the best wrestler. I'm leading a revolution. Yeah. His whole gimmick is a Bernie Sanders bro come to life. But build it I hate the belt. I tried to give it a chance. I just don't like the look of the belt. It needs a little color. It needs a little blue in there. It just looks so amorphous. It's blah. So it just doesn't. And he just kind of carries it around and he wears it. And again, it's more for the storyline of I took this away from Braun. But that kind of sucks because I feel that Sami Zayn is probably a great wrestler. But when's the last time we've actually seen him just straight wrestle? It's probably been a year, if not two. And he's supposed to be a great wrestler.
El Generico's a great wrestler.
That's true.
All I know is anytime anybody brings up color and the Intercontinental belt, I just think of fucking Ultimate Warrior.
The yellow one, or
the yellow belt is the best IC belt.
Ugh, it's so ugly.
The best.
Ugh.
Love it.
What color was his world championship? Was it purple? Blue? What color was his world?
It was blue. Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, a second point to the Intercontinental Championship. When you won that meant you were the number one contender.
Yeah.
When did that fucking go out the window?
Not necessarily that you were the number one contender, because it was always known as a work rate belt, but it meant that you were, if you're not the number one guy, you're the number three guy. You got to challenge the champ, though. I think that was that Intercontinental?
Savage or Warrior did that, right?
I think just once, yeah, but it was just that 1 year, right?
Yeah, I always thought the U.S. heavyweight title was that to the big gold. Once you got the U.S. heavyweight title, then you had one shot at big gold, which is why Goldberg had the one shot at Hogan and was a double champ. It never really happened where you were a double champion, but at least you had the one shot to get in the ring with the world's heavyweight champion, and that makes it worthwhile. That's just an innate I mean, it's about as important as the Money in the Bank, right? Like the Money in the Bank is super important because you get that one shot against the world champion. Well, why couldn't it be for the belt? The belt makes more sense.
Well, we should all get jobs writing for WWE.
We'll start off at NWA, call William Patrick Corrigan.
That's right.
Apparently, he really, has a thing for people from San Antonio, so we got a shot.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Joe Galley and Thunder Rosa. Like, they've been putting out little, like, videos on Twitter. They're not social distancing. I'm wondering, well, look, I'm not going to speculate on these airwaves, what they get up to in the privacy of their own home.
Easy.
Yeah.
Stop.
I'm just saying they have little
We're not
videos
a
that
dirt
they
sheet.
put up.
We're not a dirt sheet.
We're not fueling your fan fictions.
Your fan fantasy fiction.
Slash fiction.
Look, they're just right down the road. I can film.
Stop.
I'll stay 60
Jesus.
away.
Sorry. Anyway. Hey, did y'all read anything regarding, a former WWE superstar, former UFC superstar talking shit about fans?
Oh,
About fans?
Before we cover that, I have one real quick point to make. It's not going to turn into a conversation. Okay. Somebody is already trying to say that I saw, I think it was on Instagram. They're like, oh, WWE is going to go back to arena live audiences on Monday. And I was like, oh, my God. No.
What the fuck?
Stupid. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. Now let's talk about the biggest draw in women's wrestling history.
You feel better, Tanner? Do you feel better that you let that out now? You, Mark?
All right. I will refrain from including wrestling news on the show.
It's not wrestling news.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, do you want your? Anyway, go ahead.
Look, do I believe you have to love Ronda Rousey? Of course not. Don't like who you like, hate who you hate.
Yeah.
Do I think
Wrestling.
Ronda Rousey has a notorious reputation for kind of being a crybaby, as evidenced by every single post interview she ever did after a loss? Of course, she's notorious for that. But I think
The
she has
best
a point,
wrestlers are.
Yeah, because they care. That's the thing is, dude, winners care. The end. Look, man, it's not. Look, at the end of the day, if you look at the people who are notorious fucking crybabies, quote unquote, it's the people who try the hardest. It's the people who give a fuck. Ronda Rousey, I was just talking about Charlotte about the same thing about how she's notoriously a politician and whines when she's not in the top title, but that's because she wants to be the best. If you suck and you're whining about not being in the top, well, fuck you. But if you're dope and you're great at what you do, then whatever. Good for you. You want it the most. Ronda did a lot for the sport for the short time she was in it. She definitely helped box office. She was a believable athlete. Yeah, dimes, dude. But, the fan reaction, I wish she could have taken and been inspired with the boos to be getting any reaction is important. If nobody gives a shit, then you're, fucking, I almost said, what's his name now? Jake Hager. I would rather be hated than people be indifferent to you as a performer. I wish she could have taken that, people's reaction and also understood that it wasn't about her. It was more about they were happy to see Becky, who'd been in the business for much longer, who'd been giving it a much greater effort in the time that she was in the business. They were happy to see her getting over, and it was more of a reaction to her than to Ronda. But at the same time, Ronda is good for the sport, and I think fucking the fans are the worst. Fans are the most fickle, especially when it comes to women performers. I don't care what you will say. Even to this day, there's a gigantic misogynistic streak in pro wrestling fans. Again, I've made this point clear with fucking how people responded to Sasha Banks being upset that she wasn't in the top title, as opposed to say fucking Shawn Michaels or fucking John Cena or whatever. But I will say this for Ronda, I was happy to see her. I think, again, I thought she picked up really quick, but at the end of the day, we've moved on without her, so her not coming back isn't going to be the end of the world for anybody. So
I agree. My thing is, look, in the interview, she goes, I love the fake fighting, right? And I know there's like a stigma against that word. We all know it's a work. But then if she acknowledges and she can say that all she wants. I can give two shits. But if you're going to acknowledge that it's choreographed and it's fake, and then the job is to elicit a response, don't get mad when they boo you. Like, you're supposed to go with it. Like it's just like with Seth's doing. Seth saw that he was being booed, and guess what? He didn't fucking John Cena them. He fucking went with it, and he turned it into a great angle. I mean, and I think if you're gonna be you're gonna be pissy. Granted, you did great things for the business. I understand that, but I mean, even like another example, Kurt Angle's first fucking match, they were booing him. Guess what he did? They called an audible. He was supposed to go in as a face, and he left as a heel. That's all that. I mean, you just adapt. That's what pro wrestling is. And I think if you're gonna be fucking pissy about it, yeah, you shouldn't come back. If you don't get it, then you just don't fucking get it.
If you're a special attraction, you don't deserve to have an opinion about the business. Like, you came in, you're a mercenary, you did your job, you made some money, cool. That's it. That's like if LT had come in after WrestleMania and was like, well, this really sucks. And it's like, well, okay, you had no business, wrestling Bam Bam Bigelow. Like, it was an attraction. Like, it's as old as professional wrestling is itself, but you didn't pay your dues. Like, you have no leg to stand on and no way to, like, gripe and be, if you did not understand the business and grow up in it and really pay your dues. Like, it's a slap in the face to any woman in that locker room that you work with that you just kind of like are indifferent and you have like a shitty attitude about. And and so I've been getting a lot of like texts and stuff from my uncle Johnny. I hope you're listening.
Uncle Johnny.
Yeah, he was sending me stuff about, I guess Nia Jax went off this week too and was just like, I don't think she said Ronda's name initially, but it was about how there was a superstar that was mishandling Alexa, and like Alexa was just getting the shit beat out of her, but she wouldn't say anything. She's like, I don't want to rock the boat. I know, I'm just gonna keep quiet. And I was like, no, that's bullshit. And then she eventually came out and said that it was Ronda, and she's like, fight me, bitch. And I was like, yes, I love this. She's like, I don't care if they want me to go up against Ronda and like put her over, I can do that. But like, I'm gonna get some licks in. Like, I want to, beat the shit out of her. And so I think this is all kind of coming back, especially those stories come out. And then I saw an old, I guess pre Becky Two Belts where Becky was giving some sort of interview somewhere, and it sounded like she was really shooting on Ronda. Like, she was just like, you're there crying in your kitchen because you can't make your husband breakfast because you're on the road as a part-timer. Like, give me a fucking break. We're working 5 nights a week, and we work 52 weeks a year as superstars, and we're just happy to be in this business, and you're crying because you're a part-timer that doesn't get to make her husband breakfast. Like, that's bullshit.
Get out of the fucking business.
I also would like to mention that this recent Twitter beef, the only people that were coming after Ronda were people that could like maybe pull a quarter of the ticket sales that she did.
Yeah, that's always the way though. I mean, the ultimate thing though is again though, the conversation is as simple as this: if you don't love something, don't do it. The fucking money is not worth it, Brock Lesnar. Like, it's just not worth it. Just fucking don't do it. If you don't really love it, or if it makes you miserable, no paycheck is worth it. Now, I mind you, I've never cashed a paycheck as big as I'm sure a check Ronda Rousey has cashed. But again, go find something you do love. Like, especially if you've made the money, like, save your money, do something you love. But that's the thing I like about Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler, you can tell, has fully adapted to this, and she has put in the time. She's put in the effort. I watched this thing. I was watching this. Just shut it up. All right, I'm gonna pray.
It's about toys.
No, it was a YouTube show. I think it was Joey and Candace show, but where they just showed, it was after PWG match, but it was when before Baszler even got into actually wrestling. She was there with
oh my God, he's one of my favorite male UFC stars. And I'm blanking on his name. Anyways, she was there with a bunch of UFC people or MMA people, but she was saying like how much fun she had and how much she loves it, and how like like it's the most fun she's had. And you could tell this wasn't just like, oh, this will be a fun goof I can make to make money. Like she truly enjoyed it. And since she's been in wrestling, you can tell she's fully adapted and it has become her passion. So it's good. I'm glad that you don't have to be born. You have to grow up being the world's biggest pro wrestling fan, but you have to still. It's a goofy job with a lot of downsides. And if you're gonna do it and you're gonna do it full time, you have to give it your all and you have to enjoy it. If you don't, fucking go start a YouTube show, start your fitness business, whatever other bullshit you want to do, but just stay at pro wrestling, because not for the fans, but for yourself, because nobody needs your miserable ass fucking on TV or in the fucking the trades.
Oh boy, howdy, did this turn into a bitch fest? But I mean, honestly, I feel the same fucking way. I think you brought up a good point. It's not even for the fans, for yourself. If you're gonna come back part time, I mean, like again, like it's always when people ask you, like especially as we get older and be older men with responsibilities, like why do you still like wrestling? And it's like, and I answer the same way every time. You either get it or you don't. And for that answer, I think Ronda Rousey saw an opportunity. Like, oh, I used to watch this on TV, but I mean, then you know what? I implore Ronda Rousey to watch Triple H's Tough Enough speech, and then maybe she might learn a thing or two. Because if this isn't, if you're too fucking, spent on being on the road so much, it ain't for you, dude. Like it just isn't. Like it sucks, but that's how it is. You either want it or you don't. And if you don't want it, don't waste our fucking time. Exactly what Triple H said.
I think she wanted the money that they were throwing at her.
Yeah, and if you're just doing a cash grab, look at someone like Kevin Nash. You know what? He adapted and he learned the business. He wasn't like marking out about himself. He was marking out over the cash, man.
Yeah, also give back Piper's jacket. Like, you don't deserve to wear Piper's jacket.
As the biggest Piper fan here, I will say, Roddy gave her the fucking thumbs up before he died, so I respect that, but it still pisses me off when I go to Google search some merch I want to buy for Roddy, and she comes up instead. I will say that is very annoying, but rest in peace, Roddy. Whatever.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think I was gonna go over the bracket, but since half of y'all didn't watch Dynamite, we'll go over it next week maybe, because there's some good matches. The first one was with Shawn Spears versus Cody Rhodes. Cody won.
I heard that. Wait. Yeah, I watched last week's AEW.
Oh, okay,
we can talk about it next time. We can
talk
about it next time.
And just really quick though, we got Shawn Spears versus Cody. We got Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin. Kip Sabian versus Dustin Rhodes. Of course, Kip Sabian's going to win that one. One I'm really excited about is Lance Archer versus Colt Cabana in the first round. Yeah. I think that is going to be amazing. And I think as Colt career, I think Colt has maybe like 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years left in him. He's going to make Lance Archer look good. Fucking money. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited about that. Tanner, did you want to wrap this up with some New Japan news?
I have no news, man. I have been going through the library. I have been watching all of my favorite matches. I have just been enjoying an era that used to be right now, while I ignore just this quiet wrestling era that we're in now.
Yeah. Well, then do us a favor, if you wouldn't mind. For the fine listeners at home who do have the New Japan streaming service, recommend 2 matches for us.
2 matches. Okay, so I had one that I was going to give you. Anyone that has the New Japan NJPW World Service has probably already seen it. Katsuyori Shibata versus Okada.
Yes.
2017. It was the match where the famous, the headbutt heard around the world occurred, and it's to this day probably my favorite match. The other one that I would say, also a pretty popular one, but if you're not familiar with the service, watch, I think it was Minoru Suzuki and Hiroshi Tanahashi, King of Pro Wrestling 2012. I think that was the one. Moxley himself has said, like, that's my favorite match. I've watched it hundreds of times, and having seen it several times myself, I can absolutely see why.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I appreciate that, Tanner. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much wraps it up, guys. I know there's not a lot of wrestling news going on so much. I gotta check in with Power and see what they're doing. I think they had an empty arena match, no?
They did. It was not Tim Storm. Was it Tim Storm? Which I don't remember the
James?
Storms.
The other Storm. James Storm the Cowboy?
No, the non-Cowboy. So Tim
Storm.
Tim Storm and Josephus.
It was just one match?
It was an empty arena match. I don't know if this was recent, but it was specifically Tim Storm and Josephus in an empty arena match, and it looked like there was some kind of nasty ladder spot involving a barricade.
Oh, a barricade for what?
No. Well, that's a good point. But to keep the chairs out of the ring, I guess.
But all right, hey James, Adam, any last remarks before we go today?
No, I just to eat a tiny bit of crow. I do actually like the way that old Murder Hawk is being booked.
So good.
He seems less vanilla bad guy, big guy than the stuff I'd seen. Really making him like push around like the camera crew and stuff. He might have been doing that in the indies. I mean, not that there'd be too many TV camera guys on the indies, but yeah, I think like they need
indie camera guys.
Exactly. Which would basically just be Tanner with a fucking
holding an iPhone 6.
Exactly.
Facing myself.
But yeah, I'm liking what they're doing with him. I still hate his stupid fucking red yarn. Anyways, but yeah, like I'm like you said, I'm actually really excited for that match with him and Colt. I think Cole's gonna bump his ass off, and I think he's gonna try to make a joke out of it and get steamrolled. So I'm excited for it.
While we were talking about how upset we were about Shinsuke's career, go and watch Shinsuke Nakamura versus Kota Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom 9.
Oh, yeah.
It is literally the peak of his career.
And an awesome entrance, right?
It is the best entrance. Everybody says Wrestle Kingdom 8 is the best entrance, but no, it's Wrestle Kingdom 9.
Yes,
okay.
It's good.
Adam Danger.
What? I just want to give a big shout out to my friend Stevie. Happy birthday. I know that you used to watch wrestling growing up with your parents, and you're kind of not into it anymore. But hopefully this gets you back into watching old professional wrestling. So happy birthday, Stephanie Lane.
Happy birthday. Well, that brings us to the end of our show, ladies and gentlemen. But before we go, I wanted just to mention one more plug. If you're not filled in with Adam Danger and his wonderful, wonderful voice, please check out the Adam Danger Productions podcast, where he talks about Not So High Fidelity, which is a musical podcast for your wonderful ears. Taking a Blitz. Hey, are you gonna talk about the fake Colin Kaepernick?
We didn't get to it last week, but we'll probably get to it this week since we're leading up to the NFL draft, so we can talk about all kinds of crazy news stories that popped up.
Awesome. Well, you can find that on Spotify, folks. Be a dear and go listen and give him a follow. And while you're there, if you haven't followed us yet already on Spotify, please make sure and do so. Also on Apple Podcasts, subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell Adam's dad, Adam's mom, tell everybody. All right, guys. Well, as always, we are the Stable of Studs. We'll catch you next time, guys.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace. Bye.